So, work styles, that's a loaded thing right there. So let's really focus the attention on, how people are working, where they're working. There was also a question in the chat speaking to those employers who are in retail, who are having to make budget cuts, and there's anxiety that's coming around, folks logging in or coming to work and realizing their schedule's been cut for an entire 30 hours or 20 hours, whatever they may look like. Anxiety is actually existing in so many of our communities as it relates to just the uncertainty that exists. And we'll start with you on this one, Jon.
Yeah, thanks, Deidre. I mean, I go back to the flexibility point that I started with, right? So, I mean, and I really think this applies probably to all companies. We just happen at Principal, we're a company where the vast majority of our employees can work from home. And for companies that have employee populations like that, one of the things that we know across the board from a data perspective is that after the pandemic, I mean, during the pandemic, but certainly after the pandemic, there's going to be a big portion of the population that expects to have what is called a hybrid work style, which basically means employees are going to fluidly move from going into the office and doing work to sometimes working remotely or at home. And it really is going to turn how work is done on its head a little bit. We know that there's going to be some portion of the population that prefer to work remotely all the time. There's going to be some portion of the population that prefer to work in the office all the time. But the biggest piece of our employee population going forward is going to be that hybrid mode. And the challenge for, like, when you look at Rosalind's population, where you've got folks that do have to go into a physical plant and have to produce work, for the portion of our population that is in that category, we're stepping back and really challenging how we apply flexibility to those employees as well. Shifts coming in and out of shifts, instead of thinking about work in a full 8-hour day, can that be broken out? So there's a lot of really exciting things happening in this space. And Rosalind, I think you mentioned it earlier that while the pandemic has been horrific in so many ways, there's also quite a bit of silver lining in the pandemic in terms of challenging how we get work done and how we enable our employees. And actually, one of the things we're experimenting with at Principal is, a lot of our companies, or hopefully most of our companies, spend a lot of time thinking about how to serve customers and to basically wrap what the company does around what the customer needs. We're starting to think about our employees in that same way. So how do we take the work that we need to get done and wrap that around the needs of the employee? And we think long-term, that's going to be a winning talent strategy for us. But would love to hear from Rosalind and Peggy on this as well.